Hello and welcome to today's solve of Guardian Cryptic Crossword 28352, set by Vlad on the 26th of January 2021. It's only Tuesday, and after Monday's gentle start to the week, I can already tell with Vlad being Vlad that this is going to be a particularly tricky crossword. So nonetheless, let's see how far we can get with it. Legend, very generous, sought Mrs. Thatcher as if. So the definition's probably legend because we're told by instruction there, sought Mrs. Thatcher as if, which happens to be 15 letters. So legend can be myth, and a very generous sort is a clue as to the type of legend. Mrs. Thatcher as if, I think, yeah, that's Father Christmas. Excellent. So we can type that in. Well, we're in. That's normally quite tricky for Vlad. 4 down. Queens in study endlessly, drinking alcohol. So presumably the definition is queen or queens. Study could be a den or a room, but then it's the last letter that's taken off. Okay, so if it were read for study without the D plus gin, that would give us vagina, which is queen. 9 across, 12, don't know yet. Flipping thick, Lewis Hamilton, now said. Not sure, come back to that one. 2 down. Insatiable drama queen stood up. Well, stood up in a down clue probably means a reversal. Presumably, therefore, drama queen is the wordplay and insatiable is the definition. Okay, a diva is a drama queen, and if you reverse that, you have avid, which is insatiable. Let's look at 3 down. Easily passes with professor coming round. Easily passes. With professor coming round makes me think of the letter W inside a word for professor. And okay, so at universities, fellows and dons. So don plus a W is down, and if the definition is easily, then if something is handed or hands, then it passes. So hands down is easily as an expression. 13. Shock for a criminal. Such a short answer. Okay, so the definition of shock and criminal is an anagram indicator of 4A, which is that throw. Cool, we're motoring along here. 18 across. Was sorry about making vulgar sound. Presumably it's a homophone then. Definition is was sorry about. Okay, so if something is rude, rude, it's vulgar, presumably. But rued for rude, as if you rue something, then you regret it or you are sorry. 14. Idiots. Taken in twice about countrymen. Okay, definition here is countrymen. In twice might be in, or on the other hand, it could be abbreviations for about twice, but I'm not sure yet. And since there are many different countries and ways of describing different people from those countries, nothing immediately leaps out. Let's look at 8 down. Brings back some method of control over Washington. In fact, there's a question mark there. There's obviously some sort of cunning wordplay that we're meant to infer from this. So the definition is probably brings back. So we're told method of control. Washington, apart from being a surname of a president in the US, is also a state. Oh, and if you put the reins on something, you bring it under control, and reins plus state is reinstate for brings back. Gosh, that's a tough clue. Okay, doesn't help us at 14 much. 11, fairly long clue. Let's see. Initially nervous, when turning to drink, gains a little extra confidence. Now I normally ignore punctuation because it often gets in the way and can be misleading, but where Vlad's concerned, I might actually pay attention to it just in case it means something. But turning is presumably a reversal. Presumably the whole thing means confidence, which could be confidence as in someone's uplifted, or confidence as in some sort of trick, or hence con. Probably more likely to be someone's spirits have been boosted, so there'll be a word for that. It's not leaping out at me. Where haven't we looked? 24 across. 1, 3, 4. One being spiteful about letter, going too far. So presumably the definition is going too far. And since it's 1, 3, 4, chances are the first letter here is probably an A. And letter here might actually be yet another reference to the Greek alphabet. Doesn't have to be, but knowing Vlad as I do, it's likely to be. So a phrase that means going too far, like overstepping the mark, or Okay, so it is a Greek letter reference actually, because one being spiteful, one can be bitchy, or in this case, a bitch. And inside of that phrase can be the letter mu, mu, and that would give us a bit much, which is indeed going too far. 22 down. After not much revision came top. So again, it's another short answer. Definitions top, I imagine. Oh, and a revision of the word came is acme, which is, yeah, top. 26 across. Close or close to rock. Gets to swim with a seal. Probably an anagram. Yes, it is. So in this case, close of rock is the letter K because it's at the end. And then get to swim with a, in this case, is the letters of get plus the letter A. And this is seal not in the marine sense, which is what we're supposed to think, but actually seal as in this case, a gasket. Cool. Earning our keep today. 19 down. Weakness with fellow. Off. Sick. So this will be, wordplay is interesting here. So I think the definition's weakness, and we're told with fellow off, and again, that is probably just the letter F taken away. But as I've said before, fellow doesn't have to necessarily indicate that. That could actually be the word man or don, but it's such, again, it's such a short number of letters that we're looking for here, so it's probably the single letter. So a word for weakness that, if you take the F of it, means sick, and that would be a failing is a weakness and an ailing is sick. Let's look at 20. Bar staff finally on site dressed as pirates. I presume the definition is pirates, and probably thinking on the lines of things that have been copied illegally, that sort of pirating. I don't think, I mean, there are some famous pirates like Blackbeard, but I don't think it's that. Bar staff finally. So staff finally is letter F. So on site dressed, so it's possible that we have the letters of sight in there, and the fact that we have an S and an I as part of the clue answer already maybe supports that. Whether the word on is included in that, I'm not sure. Okay, can't quite put that together yet. Let's look at 17 across. Canister could be smaller. So I think the definition here is smaller, and canister could. So could is perhaps an anagram indicator. which would make scantier for smaller. Okay. 16 down. Awful rubbish. Charlie upset. Person calling the shots. So I think the definition is somebody calling the shots. Charlie could indicate the letter C from the NATO alphabet, or Charlie being a slang for drugs could be the letter E. It's not clear. Awful rubbish could be a word for rubbish, and the letters included are awful, i.e. they're anagramized in some way with a C. Ah, yes, okay. So if something is dire, it's awful. And rubbish in this case is rot, plus a C, and that gives us a director, and they call the shots, particularly if they're directing films. So I think I'm right in my parsing of that. Let's double check that. Dire is awful, rot is rubbish, plus C in this case for Charlie, which was in the end a reference to the NATO alphabet. 20 across. Staff finally. So I think it is the letters of sight. I mean, it's too much of a coincidence there. Sight dress, I think, is a clear indication of that. So, oh, okay, pirates. So in this case, bar is counter. Going up to the counter, going up to the bar back in the days when you could do that. So counter plus an F plus sight is counterfeits, and that's pirates. It's in copies. Okay, 21 down. Labels men as fickle. Oh, that's nice. So the definition here is labels. Fickle is an anagram indicator of men as, and that makes names for labels. 25 across. Associates with right wing types. Okay. So this is nice little sort of indicator of certain things that are fairly common in other clues. So right wing, from a political sense, at least here in the UK, refers to the Conservatives. There are a few different ways of referring to them, but in the in the crossword sense, you have Tories, or you have the letter C, or you have con. And in this case, it's con plus types, where types is sorts. You know, it takes all sorts, takes all types, and consorts is associates. 23 across. Lawyer with German's money getting in bother. So with Germans could be the letter G, could potentially be DE, or it could be the German word for either money or with. My German is horrific, so I hope it's not that. I suspect the definition here is bother, or getting in bother, in which case a lawyer typically is sort of QC or DA sometimes. Right, okay, yes. This is a bit of a sort of slangish answer actually. So, damn it is bother, and I think I'm right in this one. So, again, DA is your lawyer. You have an M for money, but I think mit is German for with. It's been a long while since I've looked at any German. What does that do for 12 down? Okay, we haven't looked at this yet. An oath at first, implying COVID, not very problematic. Not! Exclamation mark. Okay. I've got a word in mind actually. I think the definition here is not. And I suppose, thankfully, the exclamation mark there helps me a little bit in that it's not actually nut as in the thing you eat. It's nut as in somebody who is a little bit obsessive in some way. So we've got problematic is an anagram indicator of an oath in this case. First implying, if you read it that way, is the letter I. So that's an oath plus I. And COVID, not very, is literally saying without the V inside it. So if you have the letters of an oath plus an I, which is 5, and then COVID without the V, that's 6 plus 5, so that's 10. And if you anagramize all of that, I get the word aficionado, which is great because yes, you could indeed claim that an aficionado is a bit of a nut. Okay, so nine was the Lewis Hamilton one, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, well, so we have 12. So 12 is aficionado. So 12 flipping thick. Lewis Hamilton now said. Now, it doesn't always mean to say that just because there's a number here that it's referring to the clue. That's caught me out a few times. Lewis Hamilton now said. Hamilton now said. Lewis Hamilton's a racing car driver, Formula One. Okay. There's nothing to do with aficionado then. So forget that. This is cunning 12. 12 is the definition. And you might think, well, what the hell does that mean? Well, if you think about 12 on a clock face, you either have noon or you have midnight. And now thick, flipping or flipping thick, dim in this case reversed is mid. And Lewis Hamilton now said, was he made a knight with a K, a sir? So does that mean, so yes, as a now said as a homophone indicator, knight versus night without the K in this case gives us midnight for 12. Oh, that's quite tough. Okay. crikey, this is like a novel. Increasingly disconcerted by standards in war novel brackets in more than one way, some might say. I have no idea. Some might say, again, could be a homophone indicator. And the definition here, what's the definition? In war novel, increasingly disconcerted by standards in war novel. I suppose the definition could be war novel in more than one way. Some might say, well, okay, right. I think so. Standards here. It's quite. I mean, I'm immediately drawn to thinking of things like trooping of the colour and flags. You know, flying the standard, flying the flag. And actually, there's a potential here for the word flag to be at the end. That can't be a coincidence. It's certainly not by Vlad standards. That can't be a coincidence. And actually, now that I'm thinking of the word flags here, there is a war novel that was written by Evelyn Waugh called Put Out More Flags. Put Out More Flags is a war novel in more than one way, some might say. I'm wondering actually, Evelyn, or if Evelyn Waugh, some might say. I'm guessing that depending on how one chooses to say that author's name, Evelyn Waugh. But yes, it is Put Out More Flags. That is indeed the war novel. And Put Out More is is to become increasingly disconcerted. So even if you didn't know the novel, you can still get it from the wordplay. Okay, 5 across. One's appeal right for inspiring artist. This will be the name of some artist. Okay, so I'm not sure. Nothing leaps out at me yet. Let's look at 6 down. We haven't seen that yet. Declare Lara heading off after leg by. So I'm assuming that the definition is by, as in cheerio, see you, that sort of thing. No. 7 down. Wrongly firing minister without portfolio at first. So minister here could be referring to an MP, as in a member of parliament. It could be referring to a minister in a religious context, where you take the P away at the beginning of the word anyway, and you're left with something that means wrongly or wrongly firing. Oh, okay, it is a religious connection here. So a parson, taking the P off, and you're left with arson, which is wrongly firing. Nice. 10 across. Not totally wanton, I'm saying, about woman. Okay, so the name of a woman. Sometimes with these sorts of clues, it is worth checking for if there's any embeds, because an about here being a cross clue might mean backwards. Ah, yes, actually, if we look in here, we have Yasmin there, which is the name of a woman. Okay, so we're left with some trickier ones here. Let's go back to 14 and see if we can do anything here. Countryman, I want that to be Moroccan. Ah, yes, it is taken in twice about countryman. So a moron is an idiot in this sense. And well, let's just actually put that in. So we've got moron, and then oh, this is clever actually. Twice about. So CA, an abbreviation for circa, and a single C is also an abbreviation for circa, both of which mean about. Fantastic, that's a nice clue. 6 down none the wiser. We need 11 really. Let's go back to that. We're not going to get much more help with this anyway. Initially nervous, when turning to drink, gains a little extra confidence. It's got to mean confidence. Oh, sanguineness is confidence. Dredging that up for my brain. Why is it sanguineness? Well, Guinness is in the middle of the word, and that's a drink. I mean, other drinks are indeed available, but you know, it fits. So, and then gains a little extra confidence is the extra E, which we need, plus nervous and oh, as is when. So I'll put this in and then double check it. So we have our sanguineness, fantastic. So here's our Guinness. We have an extra E for little extra, so that sorts that part of it out. And then initially nervous is the letter N, and then when turning, so N plus in this case as is when. Brilliant. Okay, it sorts that out. And then we're left with 6 down. Declare. Lara heading off after leg by. Well, Lara heading off is ARA, which has to be at the end. It's just too, yeah, it's just, well, it has to be. And then declare. The word leg, I bet you that's a cricket reference, plastic cricket. Yes, okay. If I declare something, I say it, I declare it. On is cricket there. And ARA gives us sayonara, and sayonara is Japanese word for bye. Lovely. And then our last one in, one's appeal, right for inspiring artist. Okay, that must be Pizarro. Pizarro, why is that? Okay, so we've got SA for sex appeal, typically. Ones in this case is eyes, plural. That's naughty. Eyes plus SA, and then we've got right, and then RO to complete the rest of his name. But actually, 4 is pro. So we've got pro with an extra R for right. Then we've got SA for sex appeal, and then eyes for 1. Good God. Wow. What a crossword. That was really, really tough in places. But that's Vlad for you. I really enjoyed that. Hopefully you did too. And if you run into any difficulties or have any questions, feel free to let me know. Thanks very much for watching.